Slightly messing up the running order, but something has come up that I have to address, so I need to get away. I've been allocated half an hour, but I probably won't take a half an hour, so if there's any questions anybody has in relation to what I do, rather than wait to the Q&A session when I won't be here for it, you might just address it. Maybe we might spend 5 minutes dealing with it. So as the event was called, Risk Opportunity and Reward, I thought maybe somebody should actually deal with those, so I'm actually going to deal with it. It's from my perspective as a QS, so I'm not preaching. It really is what I've seen in the last 2 to 3 years, really been involved in projects where BIM has been heavily used, and really just really the outcome of that process. Hopefully. Okay. Topics, the things I'm just going to touch on, I suppose, are just a review of the Linesight digital journey from when the company was formed really to where we are now. I'm going to touch on risk, and I suppose key potential risks associated with the BIM process as I see it, areas of opportunity, and finally then I suppose I'm just going to just have a look at the concept of reward and what that means to us. I suppose the Linesight digital journey was companies formed in 1975, and I suppose by way of introduction I just took some key events from at various points along the journey and actually just looked at what was happening digitally in the world and where we as surveyors have actually matched that or not is the case. If you look at 1975, Microsoft commenced the business. From a surveying point of view, one of the drawings, coloured pencils and typewriters. That really was the level of technology that we were operating to on the process. Not a huge jump. In 1988, Sega Mega Drive came out. The typewriter got a little bit better. The major leap in technology was the highlighter. And I said, looking back now, it's still on every surveyor's desk. It hasn't gone away. It still is a key cornerstone in how we actually perform. I suppose by the time 1997 is the year I came back from London, I joined Linesight. Dolly was on the front of all the newspapers and the media, and really I suppose the PC was becoming far more commonplace, and measurement tools, measurement software was starting to be, I suppose, commonplace. Build software would have been in widespread use in our office, but again we were still using 2D drawings. One of the drawings, in fact we actually insisted on them, even where our PDFs were available. We actually insisted on getting the old-fashioned drawings. Then of course the Celtic Tiger came along, so the introduction of Apple, and information exchange was by way of CDs. Measurement tools, Costex came along, so for the first time we actually had the ability to create a link between our measurement and the drawings electronically, so you could actually click on a quantity and actually see where it was, and that really was a big step forward. And then 2014, and probably this is the first time we actually saw BIM really starting to be spec'd on projects and requirement from it. But if you look at it, 2014, face recognition on your mobile phone, laptops, Costex, common data environment really was where information was being exchanged. So things were actually starting to move. But I suppose the difference in relation to up until 2014, if you look at the journey of what we've done, and while the technology changed somewhat, what we didn't. We were still pretty much doing the same things, using slightly different technologies to do it. Our processes didn't really change. Our service delivery probably didn't change. And as Des mentioned, probably for the first time now, we have an opportunity using the new tools available to us to maybe change how we do and what we do. I suppose if you look at the development of the 5D workstation, I suppose in Linesight we've actually gone a step. We've actually have invested in dedicated 5D workstations. We've dedicated 5D QSs who have different technology. We have laptops and desktops that have the full suite of AutoCAD and Revit software on them, so we can liaise and we can work with and to the same level as the architects and engineers. And I think that's important because I think we need to be part of the process. Now we're fortunate, I suppose, in the fact that some of the projects that we have allow us to do that. But I think for the first time that we do have an opportunity to change how we operate. And I think that is probably one of the things as a surveyor and as a profession that we probably need to grasp. So the next section, I suppose, I'm going to touch on risk. And again, it really is risk as I see it, and how BIM is operating at the moment, or where it's not operating, and just highlighting areas where I think that the process can do better. I think the employers are key to this. They're at the start of the process in every single project. They set out the rules in relation to the project brief. They should be defining the employer's information requirement, which, from our point of view, it's the digital brief for the project. And I suppose they need to understand is that they're getting a digital twin. They're getting an asset, but they're also getting a digital asset. And they need to understand how they spec that, how they set out the criteria for that, and understand as to what their needs. Their needs may not be the same as the guy developing next door to them, and they should tailor those to meet it. And I think we as a profession and we as an industry probably need to help them to understand that. And there is a huge lack of understanding in probably their needs, and I think but that will hopefully come. So the next, I suppose, is the BIM execution plan and the issues around that. And I think this is really it's the design team's response to the employer's information requirements. The problems that I see with it can be prepared sometimes in advance of the EIR. Sometimes it can be prepared in conjunction with the EIR by the design team. And there's certainly a conflict of interest there in relation to that, is that the person who's going to deliver the project is actually writing both documents. Sometimes it can be used as defence, as seen it done, and the comments you hear is the BIM execution plan only requires us two. And again, that is really not in keeping with the collaborative process, and really should be about what is best for the project, not necessarily what is best for your particular discipline. And I suppose finally in relation to this is currently there's a total lack of engagement with QSs at this stage of the project. There's no input, there's no feedback, and there's no demand from the other design team leads or design team members for a QS input in this stage. And I think that really is where the other team members need to. We need to be dragged into this process and our views taken into account, and actually, because there is a significant requirement for that. I suppose better engagement between the professions. I suppose this leads on to this again. I think there needs to be, and I'll touch on it later on, the concept of silos still really hasn't gone away. And I think as a profession, we need to understand what we collectively do. I use the term architects are from Venus, QSs are from Mars. I have no idea where the engineers are from, but I think we do need to collectively get together and understand as to what are the common goals and what are the common benefits that BIM can give us. I think we'll all still have our own needs, and I said until that happens, I think we will all still remain in our silos, looking out over our fence, doing our own thing. And I think that is a significant risk to the project, because it really is not what is in keeping with it. I suppose the legal and contract status is something that needs to change very quickly. It says the lack of status of the 3D model in the process causes huge uncertainty. Who owns it? What does it mean? What status has it? The concept of it's only issued for information. Again, it's the information. It's the data reservoir for the project, and to say that it's only issued for information is really counterproductive and really flies in the face of everything that we're trying to do. The timing of the model, when are they issued to the contractors? I've had various debates with various design teams saying we cannot issue the information cannot issue the model at tender stage. The contractor will use it against us. It is the reservoir of the data, as to why you would produce all that information and not make it available to the contractor to allow him to better understand the project, is something I still quite haven't got my head around. I can understand the risks, and I can understand why people have reservations about that, but I really think the contracting organisation needs to again come in and understand that this is not a tool that you use to attack the project. It really is there for the benefit of the project. On post-contract change management, again, most projects now with the BIM model will transfer over. The management will make transfer over to the contractor at a contract stage. How are post-contract changes managed? Who does it? Does the design team do it? Does the contractor get paid for doing it? Who owns the model, and who maintains the model during the construction stage? Again, these issues we have debated on a number of projects, and there's no conclusive process in place. It still is an ad hoc basis. BIM certification. Demonstration of BIM capability is going to become a major issue for the industry across all the professions. I suppose the other question is, what does certification mean? Does certification mean you have a process? Does certification mean that you were qualified up to a certain level? There's also the potential that of exclusion from public tenderings. It's going to become an award criteria. It may become an exclusion criteria, that if you cannot demonstrate BIM capability or BIM certification, you may not be allowed to tender for public contracts. So then that is something again that the industry needs to get to grips with, and needs to come up with a way of actually dealing with that. And model development and the BOQ, and again here I suppose I'm starting to look at the QSs. I suppose we need to, at whatever level, we need to have a better understanding of the model and the model development. Again, we can probably all look at a set of 2D drawings at any stage of a project and figure out, yeah, you know what, those drawings are up to standard, or they're not up to standard, or identify the issues with them. You look into a model, it's very difficult to figure out as to where it is in the process. What stage it's at, is it good enough, is the level of detail, is the level of information available. Understanding the relationship between 2D and 3D, because not all the information is still being produced in 3D model, there's still a significant amount of 2D information that supports the process. And again, it's understanding that and really being able to, I suppose, ask the questions at the right time at the various stages in the project and understand where we are and what information is appropriate for each stage. I suppose the analysis of design clashes again is something, and maybe where the QSs can step in and actually understand it, and I'll touch on it later in relation to what we should be getting at is. But designing in clashes is really not something that is right, and just because it was there in 2D doesn't mean that we should leave that as a legacy in the 3D process. And if nothing else, we get out of BIM. I think that is something that we should be aiming for. The other thing is, measurement is not just a QS thing. I know we are responsible for production of the bill of quantities, but I think the project really needs to understand is the implications of the bill of quantities, and particularly bill of quantities now that's now going to be based on 3D information. Public Works Contract 2016 changed the status and the primacy of the bill of quantities. It is now where issues are going to arise. If the measurement is wrong or the quality of the bill is wrong, or the quality of the information on which the bill is based, these issues will arise, and these are issues for the project, because if you have a €1 million issue on a project, it's everybody's issue, it's not just the QS's issue. I think particularly in relation to QS as an M&E measure, again, in Public Works, again, there's a requirement now for measurement of M&E, and therefore some of the M&E engineers need to understand that how M&E was measured 2, 3, 4 years ago is different, and just because contractors were deemed to include for something 2 years ago, they're not now, and we need to understand that, and we need to change how we prepare the design information to cover off these issues. And finally, again, just to say is that change equals cost. So if things are not captured in the bill, if things are not captured in the design documentation, it will result in change and it will result in cost. That is the one fundamental that has not changed no matter what process we're actually operating. Yeah. BIM it's more than 3D, and again, I suppose it's understanding that BIM is more than process. It's a process as much as anything else. And again, people talk about collaboration, but I think collaboration is a word that's probably overused and actually under-delivered on. Again, the production of the information, the production of the model fine is 2D, but that is the data. It's how the data is prepared, how the data is consumed is hugely important. And again, it's not just about producing a deliverable. We're a very output-focused industry rather than an outcome focused, and I think people say I've delivered the drawings, I've delivered the spec, I've delivered the bill of quantities, but really we don't actually take a step back and look at, well, what was the outcome, because I said outcome is really as to what this is about. It's not all about deliverables. And again, I suppose touching is bad BIM. I said, doesn't make any difference to put bad design, bad BIM. It's going to result in impact to duration, impact to quality, and impact to cost. And there's no way about it. So again, we all need to understand, and we all need to challenge each other in relation to improving the process and improving the quality of the documentation and the process as much as anything else. The 3D silo. So one of the aims or one of the objectives of the BIM process was to get everybody out of their silos and get everybody in the concept of the big room or the big environment where we would all share. But as far as I can see from what we've done is we've all stayed in our silos, that they're just 3D silos rather than 2D silos. And in fact, there's an argument to say that we've created far more silos, because as well as having silos between the teams, there's now silos within the teams. And see that the mechanical and the electrical are siloed. The ventilation and the chilled water are siloed. And again, everybody is just working in their own little silos. And that is actually, in some cases, is adding to the risk and adding to the difficulty of the process rather than actually solving it. And I suppose clash avoidance, again, should be part of the process. We shouldn't be designing in clashes into a process. And just because we were able to, is the term, get away with that, or that what happened in the 2D world. We now have the tools available to us to allow that and to avoid that. Because I said, if a clash is designed in, somebody has to fix it in the field and fix it in the model at a later stage. And that really is going to just add to time and add to duration. And I suppose finally, just for this section, is we talk about risk. Risk, I suppose, it manifests itself, I suppose, in disputes, which manifests itself in costs. And again, we should really try and mitigate or remove risk as much as possible in the process and avoid dispute and hopefully avoid the impact on costs. I haven't said all that. I said I'm a huge supporter of this process. I'm a part of it. I think we need to, I suppose, I think those issues are resolvable. And I think, I suppose, looking at the flip side of that, it really is about the potential opportunities. And for individual teams and for the teams in general. I think for QS, I think there's an option, I suppose, of management of the digital twin. Nobody is managing it at the moment. We don't quite understand is what the cost of BIM is at any stage, at the design stage, at the construction stage. Nobody I haven't met anybody yet who can say BIM on this project cost X hundreds of thousands. We haven't been able to do it, even at design stage. Clients can't do it, design teams can't do it, contractors can't do it. So without understanding the cost, we really can't understand as to what the value is. And without being able to demonstrate value, clients are actually going to be very reluctant to say, well, why should I have it on my project? What value is it bringing to me? Why am I paying for it? So I suppose that really is one of the opportunities that if we can actually start establishing what the costs are and establishing what the value that is bringing to the process, I think that really is an opportunity which I think will help move this along. A coordinated project. I think one of the things, if we got nothing else out of this process over the next few years, that at tender stage we had a coordinated project available, I think that would be a significant impact and a significant benefit. I said it probably would be fundamental, because at the moment what we are doing is we are, models are being prepared and that there are clashes embedded within the project. The result of that is we are paying contractors to solve the clashes in the field and then ultimately then go back and update the BIM models to reflect those fixes. There is no need for doing that. I said we have the ability now to build the building, build the project digitally, and then build it physically in the field. I think if we get nothing else out of the process, I think that is an opportunity. And again, it would significantly move this process on. So the idea of improved value, the UK set a target of 50% reduction in overall project duration. In Ireland, the target is 20, and both have a target of 20%. The problem is at the moment in the environment that we're in, it's quite difficult to demonstrate cost reduction because costs are rising so fast across all sectors. So we could be achieving the value, we could be achieving value on where we were 2 or 3 years ago, but because it's been outstripped by inflation, it's actually quite a challenging analysis to do on it. But I think it shouldn't stop us, or it shouldn't prevent us from doing it. And again, if we can actually do that and demonstrate it, I think more and more clients will actually take up will take up and will feed into this process. I think better engagement with contracting authorities, I think, is important. I said the public sector is going to be, from a mandate point of view, is going to be one of the drivers in this. I think because they are clients that have multiple projects across multiple sectors, and they are developers that are here for the long run. I think so. They are going to be a main driver. So I think the professionals probably need to get in, and there's an opportunity there to get in with the key contracting authorities. Start to agree protocols, start to agree procedures that will become the standard across the industry. Because I think individual clients in the private sector, don't have the interest and don't have the ability and don't maybe have the long-term view that the public sector has. So I think there's a huge potential opportunity there that we can use them to actually leverage some of this. Improved project analysis. I said for the first time now we have a huge, particularly as surveyors, we have a huge amount of data available to us. And rather than just use it to produce building quantities, to produce models, to produce designs, I think for the first time we can carry out some significant data analysis. And I think we should be doing it, and we're not doing it. I had a conversation about a year ago with an architect explaining to him maybe the potential benefits that we could do on facade analysis on a project. I said, if you only do this and this and this into the model, it will allow us to sit down with you in real time and do optioneering on the facade, and we could spend the day doing it, and we can look at the facade and do some real proper value engineering as opposed to the value engineering that has happened just to save money. And the response which he said to me, and it still stuns me because I still can't believe he said it to me, he said, if I do that, I will be doing your job. And he missed the point completely, because what I was trying to get to him, I said, if you do that, I can help you do your job better. And we can save money and we can improve design, and maybe you can get the nice fancy facade entrance that you want because we'll be able to afford it. Didn't get it, didn't understand it. But we have the information, and I think we should actually do it. We should do real-time analysis. One of the things that we can do, and certainly on the public sector when I'm involved in hospitals, is area analysis. It tends to happen at the end of every stage. But I think now we have the ability to, every time a model is issued, there can be an area schedule attached to it, we can track area. Area on hospitals is the fundamental driver of costs. And I think for the first time now that we have that ability to actually do it every time a model drops, now, we actually do the analysis ourselves, but it could actually drop with an area analysis do it. And again, so you effectively have real-time information and clients can actually do it, see where the impacts are. BIM versus ARM4. Again, I mentioned the bill of quantities earlier on. I think there's a piece missing here, because obviously the codes that the architects use and BIM and ARM4 and measurement are not coordinated. And I think there is certainly an opportunity around actually improving that process. All the measurement tools we use all have the ability to accept codes, and again, this will feed into the data analytics that we use and provide better analysis. And it will help improve the quality, because again, if architects and engineers get into the habit of actually coding up doors or fire doors or partitions in a particular way to tie in with ARM, it will just become the norm, and it will mean that we will have better models, we will have better builds, and we will have better outcomes. And additional services, again, I think there is a huge opportunity now for us to actually to roll out additional services to clients, give them better information, not just about drawing specifications and builds and quantities. And I think really this is probably where I think we as a profession need to look at what we do as surveyors and consider the options that we can actually do and deliver better projects. BIM project controls is an area is linking the model to the schedule and to the bill of quantities, and actually have that in real time so that we can actually track expenditure and actually plan expenditure on a project if the model and the bill of quantities and the schedule were actually linked. And finally, reward. I suppose haven't touched upon the opportunity, and I suppose in looking at this, I was trying to figure out, well then, what is the reward? And I suppose I took a slightly different view on it. And it really was, for cost and coordination crimes, this is really, I suppose, an example. It's taken from a project where there was one duct, 34 clashes, and estimated cost 7,000. And I said, that's just an example. And I suppose now I said, if there was a reward for every time anything was fixed, I think they would be fixed pretty quickly. So I suppose, again, it is looking at BIM, looking at the information, how we actually deal with it, and actually deal with it differently. Rather than pay a contractor €7,000 to fix something, wouldn't it be so much easier that if the architect or engineer was paid €1,000 to fix that, or to get paid fees? And I know this is about fees and understand it, and this is maybe where clients actually need to understand is their fee structure and what they're paying for and what is now important and where is the benefit. But again, it feeds back to doing the value analysis and demonstrating to the clients as to how we can deliver value. But I think this is certainly one of the things. There is no point for employers paying huge amounts of money to contractors to fix things in the fields. Contractors don't want to be wasting time or money fixing items in the fields. They'd rather they were right in the model and they build them right the first time. So I suppose that's it. That is my view of BIM. I suppose. Does anybody have any? Because I unfortunately can't stay for the Q&A section. So if anybody has any questions, I'll take them.
Is that system compatible with the IPMS as well? See that you said it works with ARM4.
What's
the International Property Measuring Standard, the IPMS?
Well, it can, yeah. As I said, at the moment, the problem that we see, we don't have any. There's no, certainly from a QS point of view, is that the measurement and the models are not linking, are not talking to each other, or the coding.
Charles Mitchell and the IT is involved in that.
Yeah.
In the internationalization program, we're looking at that aspect.
Because it would make sense, because from a surveyor's point of view, it would all feed into each other.
Yeah, and I think this is, I suppose, one of the points I'm trying to make is that we have a huge amount of data, and if you can just join the dots, you know, it will make everybody can dip in, everybody can have the same information available to them if the codes are there from day one. I said whether it's a surveyor, whether it's a building surveyor, whether it's an engineer. If we all have, if the codes are in the model from day one, people actually can understand that. I think rather than trying to retrospectively apply them or pull out data in particular ways and trying to make it work.
Yeah, Gary, very interesting presentation. I really think what's needed here is, I was very honest, I think, with you. I mean, I remember 30 years ago being at an event in London and talking about the demise of the QS, you know, was still here, yeah?
Yeah.
But you talked about silos and so on. I think there's a real opportunity here for the representative groups of the CIC to collaboratively commission a project, call it the National Digital Twin Project.
Mm.
So the SCSI, ACI, all contribute to commission the development of architectural modelling, engineering modelling, IT costs, the whole thing. But there'll be a lot of lessons learned, and that can be commissioned starting next year, and that can be presented throughout the year 2019.
Yeah.
As a potential platform that we can work from. I really think that's needed because, you know, we're waiting for the roadmap to be fully funded.
It's not.
Let's see what
Yeah.
happens. It may be funded later in the year, next year. But why don't we just sort of start from a point where we need, and this could be an example of project around it. You know, say it's a school, call it what you will, but we need to actually start constructing the design information in the correct way, and so on. There are a lot of lessons to be learned from that, including the QS.
Well, I think it's hugely important, and I think we can't wait. This is the problem, is that we can't wait for the digital roadmap to be funded, because the problem that we have now in the digital environment, 2 years is a lifetime. You know, and I think we can't wait for something to happen in 2 years, only to start the process now. The problem that is the problem that I see, and again, I said the idea was to be honest here, and for me to see, to I suppose to demonstrate the issues that I'm seeing. One of the problems that I'm seeing is that in the absence of formal rules or guidelines or processes, individual companies and individual professions are doing their own thing, and they're going to become embedded as the de facto how things happen. And we will have to undo those in order to get back. And I think we have an opportunity now, before things get too embedded down, to actually set out real agreed rules and procedures across all the professions. As listen, this is as a minimum. This is what everybody does. These are the rules.
You're probably working on one of the most complicated projects in the country, the National Children's Hospital.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about that level of detail.
Oh, no, it doesn't.
It doesn't need to be that level of detail. It just needs to be something that you could demonstrate to the industry, the best people involved, how you should go about working the project together.
Yeah, but if you take the Children's Hospital, it is complex and it's about scale. But if the procedures and processes were in place, they can scale up or scale down. They shouldn't only apply to this type of project or that type of project. I think we need to set a common rules that can be scaled up or scaled down. Depend. Yeah, and that's missing at the moment. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Grant? Okay.